Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Panther Pourri. I'm your host, Jacob Langsam. Here with me, as always, are my co-hosts, Alex Lopez and TJ Peterson. And folks, we have some very exciting personal news to discuss on the show today. Not personal to any of us, personal for one, Mr. Jonathan Huberdeau, who, as of this past Tuesday night's game against the Montreal Canadiens, has set a new career high for points in a season. He now has 93 points, beating his previous career high of 92, set in the 18-19 season. Of course, the major difference there being that he hit 92 points in 82 games. And there are still 16 games left in the season that he has 93 points in.
And I do want to point out that it's nice that we were born in 1993 and he's got 93 points. You and me, Jake, we were born in
And Jonathan Huberdeau.
That's true.
Also
my brother David.
That is true.
That would be more fun if he was going to end the season with 93 points, I think.
Well,
But he is on pace for 115.
knock on wood that he has more points left in him and then save some for the playoffs.
How crazy would that be if he just slumps the rest of the season, 0 points in 16 games?
Honestly, I'd be fine with that as long as game one of the playoffs is, him putting up a 4th spot and that continues all the way to a Conn Smythe. Like
Barkov.
I'm just saying,
It doesn't matter. I don't care who wins the Conn Smythe as long as it is a Panther.
yeah. But I mean, I was more trying to just get to my overall point, which I wanted to mention at some point in this pod. Like, nothing really matters the rest of the season other than staying healthy.
I kind of disagree with that.
I do too. We'll talk about that later, though. We'll talk about that later.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got a whole segment on it that we're gonna do. So we'll talk about it then. But did want to point out, and I can't believe I didn't think of this, that when we were talking about, is there a record that Huberdeau is going to break other than the left wing assists in a season record, which we both kind of agreed. Cool for
Ridiculous.
Huberdeau, but it kind of a stupid record. We don't really care. But
Yeah,
this one is more relevant. He's going to shatter the Panthers' points in a season record, which is currently 96. So he only needs 3 more to tie it and 4 more to pass it. And as you said, he has 16 games to do it. So he's going to smash that record and will almost definitely be the first Florida Panther to have an 100-point season.
Wow, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, Burry, for all of his goals, did not pass the puck, shockingly enough.
I'm not surprised because none of those other guys could put it into the net nearly as well as he could.
That's also
teams.
fair.
Those were some brutal teams.
Wasn't Barkov on pace for 100?
He probably was, and then
20,
missed a week or something.
No, in the
shortened
COVID season. I could be wrong about that. But
Maybe last year he was the 50-game season last year, but the one 2 years ago, he definitely not. The one that was COVID shortened that ended in the bubble, definitely not, because he was slumping towards the end of the season. Remember, he had that knee injury.
Huberdeau was on pace for 93 points that season.
Yeah, but Barkov definitely wasn't. He was slumping at the end of that 1920 season.
Well, now I need to check. I feel like he was on pace for 100. I could be wrong, but
I'm 100% certain on this because remember he had that knee injury that no one would talk about.
62 points in 66 games. He wasn't even pacing for like 80 points, let alone 100.
Slumping for Alexander Barkov is
he is the holder of that 96-point season though in 18-19.
Yes, he is.
He's got 66 and 53 this year. With if he played 82, he would definitely be hitting 100, but that's not going to happen. So he's not going to hit 100 unless he really gets hot here at the end of the regular season. What
a great time for Barkov to get hot.
I mean, McDavid did it last year. He had a pretty similar stretch to what he would need.
Yeah, but like the Oilers.
It's true.
I'm saying I want Barkov to get hot now because I wanted to carry into the playoffs.
True.
So let's not compare him to the Oilers.
Yeah, worth noting that what Huberdeau is doing, even though I don't think he should be the Hart Trophy winner, but it would be pretty funny if he won it, in all honesty.
Yeah, like that's the one reason you should want him to win it. I agree, he shouldn't. If you take the Hart by the letter of the player most valuable to his team, that is not Jonathan Huberdeau for the Panthers.
It's Igor Shesterkin.
It is Igor. But
yeah, I agree with
Huberdeau isn't even the most valuable Panther.
I agree.
I think he's been a different argument for a different day, but I think all three of us are kind of on the same page with that. So like
Lucas Carlson,
we are not going to argue.
Yeah,
about
it's
that.
Lucas Carlson. I mean,
totally.
This season, unfortunately, he will be. And I say unfortunately because the reason he's going to be the most valuable is he's going to play way more games than Barkov or Ekblad unless he gets hurt and Barkov doesn't towards the end of the year.
But then none of them are winning the Hart.
Yeah, none of them are winning the Hart if Huberdeau
so
gets hurt.
What I was saying though is that you should want Huberdeau to win the Hart, even if he doesn't necessarily deserve it by the letter of what the Hart is, mostly just to spite Leafs fans.
Although he would be spiting Rangers fans primarily. Well, at least according to us, it doesn't really seem like Shesterkin is the front runner.
No, it's Matthews. I mean, Matthews is deserving.
Matthews is deserving, yeah.
Yes, he is. But it would be funny for Jonathan Huberdeau to steal that from Toronto.
I think there's like 5 or 6 legitimately deserving players, like Gaudreau on Calgary would be another.
Well, let's back up for 1 second. Not to cut you off, TJ. I know I am.
Yeah, go ahead.
But like, if we're gonna knock Hart, Huberdeau for saying, "Hey, it's most valuable to your team," because Huberdeau's got Barkov, Ekblad, and all the other Panther players we all know. Like, you kind of have to do the same thing for McDavid, who's got Draisaitl. You got to do the same thing for Matthews, who's got
Warner, Tavares, Nylander.
Yeah.
Morgan Riley.
Yeah, Morgan Riley, Jack Campbell the first half of the season. Like, it's just it's just kind of BS to say like, oh, Huberdeau is not the most valuable player to his team, but then give it to Austin Matthews.
Right. That's why I think it should be Igor.
I agree.
Because like the way that I like to look at the Hart by the letter is where would that team be without them? Yeah. The Rangers would be floundering without Igor.
Yeah.
The other teams, I could actually see Gaudreau. Like the Flames would be in a tougher spot without Gaudreau also.
I think the Leafs would be in a tougher spot without Matthews than the Flames would be without Gaudreau.
You think so?
Yes, because I think the Leafs are really counting upon his goals, and he's got 49 right now, so that's a lot. That's a lot. Yeah, he's probably going to hit 60,
which would be the first time since
did Stamkos did it?
Stamkos did it. I want to say
Ovi has to
12 or something. Ovi and Stamkos have both done it once.
I know Bure got close with the Panthers, but it was 58 and 59.
I'm going to look at the Rocket Richard winners. Stamkos did it in 11-12. Oh, cool. I nailed that. And Ovi did it in 07-08.
And if I remember right, Stamkos' 60th goal was an empty netter against the Panthers that clinched the 3rd overall pick, which became Jonathan Huberdeau.
Hey, so thanks, Steven Stamkos' Rocket Richard's 60th goal. Because
so wait, was it 11-12 or was it 10-11?
It was 11-12.
11-12, the Panthers made the playoffs and the Lightning didn't, by the way, which I was thinking like, okay, that's crazy. The Lightning didn't make the playoffs and Stamkos had 60 goals.
Then I'm thinking of the wrong season because I remember a Stamkos empty netter.
Yeah, no, it was Stamkos won the Rocket Richard with 60 goals in the 11-12 season.
Yeah, 2011 was when Jonathan Huberdeau was drafted.
Which I believe the 11-12 draft. Was that the Matheson draft?
Yeah.
No.
Well, if it's the one the Panthers went to the playoffs.
Oh, the 2012 draft, yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The one after that season. That was first overall, Nail Yakupov.
Yeah.
Oh.
That was the Griffin Reinhart draft, I think.
It was.
Oh my God.
The 2012 draft was a fucking disaster.
Oh my God. I mean, Matheson was one of the best picks considering he was like, what, 22nd?
Good job, Dale Talon.
Like that?
This is what I remember from that draft. Afterwards, it was Burke, right, who was the GM of the Leafs at that time?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think
it was Brian Burke, I think. And he
or Dave Nonis,
whoever it was, after drafting Morgan Riley at 8, they're like, oh, we had him number 1 on the board. We got the best player in the draft at number 8. And the whole hockey world laughed at him.
Because he was right.
I think he was not quite. Let's go down round 1 of the 2012 draft real quick. First overall, Nail Yakupov to Edmonton. Second overall, Ryan Murray to Columbus. Third overall, Alex Galchenyuk to Montreal. Fourth overall, Griffin Reinhart to the Islanders. So first of all, your top 4, probably the worst top 4 in NHL history.
Yeah.
The only one of those guys that's even still in the NHL is Ryan Murray. He doesn't have a contract for next year.
He's like a 4th.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, he is. Neither of those guys have a contract next year, though.
Then you get that, like after the 4th overall pick is when you get into actual good NHL players, because then you get Morgan Riley, Hampus Lindholm, Matt Dumba, Derek Pouliot, Jacob Trouba, Slater Cuckoo at 11th.
Derek Pouliot, not a good NHL
At 11th
player.
overall, you get Philip Forsberg.
Yeah, there you go. That's
Kyle
the best player in the
Grigorenko.
draft.
Nope, not quite. Radek Faksa. 14th overall, you have noted all-star Zemus Gergensen. Cody Ceci, Tom Wilson, Tomas Hertl, Teuvo Teravainen, and 19th overall in the 2012 NHL entry draft, the actual best player in the 2012 entry draft, Andrei Vasilevsky.
Ooh,
Almost traded to the Panthers for Sasha Barkov, Andrei Vasilevsky.
What?
Yeah, you don't remember
Wow.
that story that came out? That came out recently.
I've never heard this
That
before.
when Panthers were picking number 2 overall, Lightning were trying to jump from 4 to 2, and the sticking point for the Panthers was Vasilevsky. They wanted Vasi as part of the deal. Tampa said no.
So the Panthers were trying to get him, but the Lightning said no. Okay.
Yeah. The Lightning.
I mean, still kind of funny, but
I mean, it's funny.
I wouldn't quite say that we almost traded Barkov for Vasilevsky. We tried to trade the pick that became Barkov for Vasilevsky, and Tampa was like, nah.
No. Tampa was the one. Right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Tampa said no to including Vasilevsky in the deal, and that fell apart. So the Panthers took Barkov. Tampa ended up with Drouin, which they turned into Mike Sergachev. And I think the Panthers won out in that exchange as good as Vasilevsky is.
Alex, can you try to find the source for that? Because I want to put this clip on
Tampa
YouTube.
Also,
I think this would be a good
Tampa
clip for
got
YouTube.
that pick from Detroit, and I'm very curious to know what that trade looked like. The Detroit Red Wings first-round pick went to the Tampa Bay Lightning as a result of a trade on February 21st, 2012 that sent Kyle Quincy to Detroit.
Oh, man.
The Red Wings traded
Ken
Kyle
Holland
Quincy for the pick that
Ken
became
Holland
Andrei
should be in The Hague.
Vasilevsky.
You should be in The Hague.
That's brutal. Oh, goodness. That is brutal. Anyway, just to round out the draft, Scott Lawton, Mark Jankowski, Oli Mata. Then at 23rd overall, we have Mike Matheson, followed by Malcolm Subban, Jordan Schmaltz, Brendan Gaunce, Henrik Samuelsson, Brady Shea, Stefan Mateo, and Tanner Pearson. So
Yeah,
sweet spot
draft.
there is
Brutal
like that
draft.
10 to 20 range. That's off Forsberg, Wilson, Hertl, Teravainen, and Vasilevsky.
There's actually another Panthers link to Vasilevsky. I didn't find the thing you were looking for, TJ, but the trade tree of Dan Boyle leads to Andrei Vasilevsky becoming a Lightning player, which is ironic because today is the anniversary of Dan Boyle signing with the Florida Panthers as an undrafted free agent, and then eventually being traded to the Tampa Bay Lightning for, drumroll please, a 5th-round draft pick.
Okay.
Good job.
I'm not done with the 2012 draft because although this was one of the worst first rounds in history, this might be one of the best third rounds in history. I'm not going to read the entire third round. I'm just going to throw some names out there. Jonas Corposello.
Yeah.
Adam Pelech.
Yeah.
Essa Lindell. Chris Drieger. Chandler Stevenson.
Can I throw something out there?
Shane Gostisbehere.
Wait. There's more on
real
this
quick
list.
about Essa Lindell.
Murray.
I'm pretty sure that yesterday I was watching the Ducks play the Stars, and I think the Ducks color commentator called him Anton Lindell.
That's hilarious.
It was pretty good.
Yeah, so Gostisbehere, Matt Murray, Matt Grzelcyk, Colton Parayko, Freddie Anderson.
Big Matt.
That's got to be one of the best third rounds in history.
I totally agree. Big Matt Grzelcyk guy right here. Big Matt Grzelcyk guy.
Matt Grzelcyk popped onto my radar. I was trying to develop my own impact metric in like 2018. And Matt Grzelcyk shattered all the defensive numbers for it. I had no idea who this guy was at the time. He just showed up on the top of all of the defensive rankings that I was trying to come up with. And from that point on, I have loved him. And I'm so happy that over the past couple of years, he's gotten some fucking respect. It's like, I had that 4 years ago.
Yet another good Bruins player that is disrespected in their market for some reason. Usually it's the opposite, that they like.
I would assume it's because people have trouble spelling his last name.
It's also because he's small and doesn't have a lot of grit.
Yeah, that's also true.
Also
5'9",
from 9, Jesus.
Also from that draft, not that he's a star, but he was a big deal for a time. Jimmy Vesey in that 3rd round.
I very explicitly decided to not say that name.
I was wondering why you skipped that name.
Because he's not that good. But I'm trying to go over quality of. I know that like 4 years after this draft, Jimmy Vesey was the name on everyone's lips. But
400 NHL games out of a third rounder is good, regardless of if he lived up to all that, post draft college free agent hype.
Wow, you guys aren't going to believe this. Also drafted in the 4th round of the 2012 draft from Frölunda, Erik Karlsson. Not that one.
different Erik Karlsson.
This one was drafted to the Carolina Hurricanes, and I don't think he ever actually saw NHL.
Oh, you brought up something that I did want to talk about for a second here. Not really a whole lot that we can say about
Erik Karlsson?
No. With Jimmy Vesey being a college free agent, I remembered
God, Connor Hellebuck in
the Bobby Trevino sweepstakes that the Panthers are apparently involved in. Now, normally I wouldn't really want to say like, college free agent until they're signed, of course, in which case they become a big deal. But Bobby Trevino apparently has the Panthers on his list of 4 finalists to sign him as a college free agent. One of the best players of the NCAA last year. 20 goals in 37 games and 49 total points. You'll take that. He is 23 years old, so you're probably not getting a guy that's ever going to become a first line winger. But like I said on Twitter, the Panthers have traded so many prospects, so many draft picks. You have to find a way to restock the cupboard. And a guy like this is just another dart to throw at the board.
Right.
And he could become a solid NHLer. He could become nothing. He could be kind of in between, like Jimmy Vesey.
Draft capital.
Yeah, or he could become something you use in a trade. So that's something to look out for. Trevino apparently had the Panthers. I think it was Nashville and the 2 New York teams were the other 3 finalists.
Is he from New York? Yep, he sure is.
So he's going to be a Ranger.
Probably not. He's not Adam Fox.
Although, like,
he doesn't have that level of
when I was thinking about it, like as a college free agent, even though you could sign with Florida and you're on a winning team, you don't really have a lineup spot assured. Like, how are you going to crack this Panthers lineup? It's really, really stupid deep.
Well, so Marchment's out after this season.
Achari's out.
I would imagine that Zito's going to try to trade Hornquist.
Yeah, I mean, Hornquist.
A few forward spots are going to open.
Hornquist's got to go. Like, if he doesn't get rid of Hornquist, that's a dereliction of duty, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I'm very sad that Marchment probably is not going to be a Panther after this year because, like, I've been singing his praises.
He's had a phenomenal year.
He's getting 4x4 minimum.
Too good of a year. You know where he's going to end up. You know who I guarantee you is going to sign that deal because of the type of player that Mason Marchment
Philadelphia?
Lou Lamoriello?
I didn't hear either one of you.
Lou Lamoriello.
Alex is correct.
Oh, I would love him on
Mason
the island.
Marchment's a fucking Lou Lamoriello.
I would love him on the island.
Oh, for
that would
sure.
be great.
Actually, you know what? Did Lamoriello draft him?
He might have.
Toronto?
Kyle Dubas signed him as an undrafted free agent.
Oh, then never mind. He was undrafted?
Yeah.
Wow. I mean,
he had never had a point per game season at any level of hockey until this year.
Until now.
Yeah.
Somehow.
In the NHL.
Until playing with Anton Lundell and Sam Reinhart. Good for you, buddy.
Yeah. Fantasy camp right there.
Yeah, he's going to get his 4x4.
Yeah,
he won't live up to the
contract.
contract.
Give it to him and he's going to flounder.
I don't think he'll flounder, but he won't live up to the contract.
He'll never, I doubt he ever has like a 60-point season.
No, he's going to get 4x4 or more and going into year 3, get bought out of that contract because
it's going to be fine because what's going to happen is we'll just replace him with Ryan Lomberg.
Yes, who was re-signed
and Cole
is signed for next year.
And Lomberg. No, so Lomberg takes Marchment's space and Schwint takes Lomberg's space. There you go. That's how
this offseason I'm going to dedicate some like really stupid and navel-gazing like segment to maybe the Panthers should trade Sam Bennett because Cole Schwint should be the 3C and Anton Lundell should be the 2C. Let's wait until the offseason though to cross that bridge. And, maybe you put together a Leon Draisaitl trade package when the Oilers get swept in round 1 and they got to change up the mix.
Woof.
I'm gonna push that narrative unless Edmonton has a successful playoff run, which I don't think is going to happen. So watch this space. Anyway, Let's touch on the week of games that was, and we'll also focus on the trade deadline acquisitions and how they performed. 3 wins for the Panthers in the 4 games. I mean, they won the games against the 3 easier opponents and lost the game against the hardest opponent. So it's kind of a wash, to be completely honest. But the schedule that the Panthers have going forward is so easy that really all they got to do is just beat the bad teams that they play consistently, and they'll be completely fine. We'll talk about, where we want them to finish in the standings a little bit later. But the loss to the Maple Leafs was the only negative result of the week. Claude Giroux, 4 points in his first 2 games, but I don't think he got on the score sheet against the Leafs.
No, he did
Sherrod
not.
And Haig
he didn't have a shot on goal against the Leafs.
But he did get on the score sheet last night.
Yeah. And Sherrod did as well last night. Haig got an assist against the Canadians, but, he hasn't had a point since, but also like Robert Haig's not going to get points for you. That's not the kind of defenseman that he is. I guess we'll start with him because there's the least to say about him, so we can just get it out of the way. I've been pretty happy with what I've seen from him.
Yeah, he's been fine.
Pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
There's really
Thanks,
not a whole lot
Buffalo.
to say. Like he just does pretty much everything that you need him to at an NHL level. And, I don't necessarily think he's an upgrade on Lucas Carlson, but he's not a significant downgrade. So you can't really complain about it.
Yeah, there's no reason to be complaining about the Robert Haig acquisition.
Yeah, I'm not going to miss the 6th round pick.
That's going to be the sneaky move of the deadline.
Panthers and rehabilitating Buffalo Sabres defensemen name a more iconic duo.
But
Hasek, Montour, Haig. We should have traded for Ristolainen.
No, we shouldn't have. That's a bridge too far.
Yeah, but I agree with you. I've been very happy with Haig so far. I'll even say that he's been better than Sherrod, but that's not saying too much.
Do we want to talk about Sherrod next, or should we go to
segue?
Yeah, there's
Good
the
job,
segue.
Alex.
Sherrod's kind of been what the 3 of us expected.
Yeah,
He's not good defensively.
Pretty ass.
He's not good defensively at all.
My sticking point with what I've seen from him is like it's explicitly not what was advertised. We've seen moments where he's near the puck carrier. Sometimes he's even like between the puck carrier and the net, and the puck still goes in the net. Like everybody says, oh, Ben Sherrod, he's going to tie up somebody at the net. He's going to block shots. Well, we haven't seen him do that.
Instead, he's going to miss assignments and be the cause of high danger chances against.
And get lost on the play. Like this is exactly what we were
Fall
told.
behind the
He
offense
never
on the rush
does.
too.
Yeah. And like his slow skating, I think is just going to be a concern. We can talk about like he'll get integrated into the system. Some of this stuff, the Panthers play kind of a unorthodox 5-on-5 defensive system. He'll probably get assimilated into that and he'll play better 5-on-5. But the penalty kill stuff, I don't think there's anything funky about the way the Panthers kill penalties. He's just got to be better there.
Yep.
And the skating speed, that's not going to get any better. He's not going to be a better skater by the time the playoffs come around. So the one saving grace, or I guess there's 2, because he'll get assimilated into the system. And also, I don't think he's going to be playing first pairing. I mean, it's possible that they put him with Ekblad when Ekblad gets back and that's the first pairing, but
you know what? That is possible, and that wouldn't be so. Maybe that makes Sherrod look better. Like, let's not lose sight of the fact that Ekblad got hurt before Sherrod joined the team.
Right.
Yeah. We never got to see the Ekblad Sherrod pairing that was seemingly planned.
Right. I mean, Ekblad's better than Shea Weber, and Shea Weber played pretty well with Ben Sherrod.
Right. That's kind of what I'm thinking is that Ekblad's a floater. We know this. He plays more of a 4F than. Or I guess not necessarily more of a 4F, but
at times
he's
a 4F.
Just as much a 4F as he has a 1D. So I think Ekblad can compensate for a lot of Sherrod's shortcomings on both ends.
Mm-hmm.
So
we saw for a little bit in the Canadians game the reunion of Uyghur and Forsling, which I would like for them to just continue that. Like I think I've seen enough of Sharon and Uyghur. Both of them have not really like suited each other's playing styles. Now, if you have a lead in one of these games against, the many cupcake opponents that are coming up for the Panthers, you could probably try them again, just get a little bit more of a sample size and, maybe they turn it around. We saw what happened with Sam Reinhart at the beginning of the year. It got much better as the year went along, but who knows is really all I can say. But so far, not so good.
Yeah. Like you said, the good thing is the Panthers are very comfortably in the playoffs. They're just how hard do they want to fight for the President's Trophy or first in the East? And you can experiment. You can try, you can try Montour and Sharon. You can try Gudis and try. You can try all of these different combinations. The only thing you can't try is pairings with Ekblad because he's out the rest of the regular season. But now is the time to be experimenting. Now it's trying to be trying things like the 5-man power play, which I want to spend some time talking about. Sharon hasn't been good.
Okay.
Let's talk about Claude Giroux before we go on to the power play.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'll start us off. Yeah, he's a perfect fit for this goddamn team. He fits perfectly. It's so nice. I mean, I do want to nitpick him a little bit just because, there have been some things.
He hasn't scored a goal yet. Sorry, that's my.
No, but yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's someone out there being like, oh, Giroux hasn't scored a goal yet. And I'll just get the negative out of the way. I think when Giroux was brought in, he was told like, "Hey, Panthers, we're going to be extremely aggressive. We're moving the puck up ice." And his first couple of games, he was trying a lot of stretch passes when he was getting the puck on the boards, rather than what the Panthers do. And if you've listened to Jack Hand talk about the Panthers from that podcast on, the podcast I'm talking about one with TJ when he came on with us, and two when he was not with it was the PDO
cast. Yeah.
He talked a lot about how the Panthers, what makes them so lethal is how quickly they get the puck from the boards to the middle of the ice with speed. And that's done with short little touch passes. And Giroux's been trying to, make long passes to the forward at the opposing blue line rather than get that touch pass to Barkov with speed. So once he assimilates to that part of the Panthers game, it's going to be unbelievable. And it's already really good. Like Giroux just fits so well with what the Panthers want to do. And I know we all are in agreement that faceoffs are overrated, but the fact that he wins 60% of faceoffs, like that's a really nice weapon to have.
I think that the Panthers needed a guy that was first power play capable that could really win faceoffs. For some reason, they just had such a problem winning power play faceoffs, which are even easier than 5-on-5 faceoffs.
Yeah, because you just tie up and then grab the puck.
Yeah, and for some reason, they just couldn't win them. They were constantly losing that battle and then couldn't re-enter the zone. And that's why for the first half of the season, they had such a bad power play. Like if they had the puck in the zone and could, throw it around to, Huberdeau, Ekblad, Barkov, Reinhart at the net, they were scoring. They had a lot of problems keeping the puck once the power play started. And if they lost the faceoff, they had problems getting it back into the zone. They switched to the 2 deep drop because they were doing the 1 deep drop for a lot of the year. Yeah. And that helped things a lot. But it still wasn't really resolved, the faceoffs being a major part of that. And now they're winning the faceoffs. I mean, Giroux has been everything that he was advertised to be in terms of the faceoffs. One thing I do want to say, though, he seems a little bit slow compared to the other players he's with. Maybe that's just he's overthinking it because
no, he's 34 years old. He's not as fast as he used to be.
Yeah, and I mean that does have to be thought about, that he's not going to be prime Claude Giroux. He's not going to be able to drive play at that level. But
I do want to note to that end, though, that most of the major possession ratios, he's over 70%. He's over 70% Corsi. He's over 70% Fenwick. He's over 70% expected goals. Granted, he's been with the Panthers for 4 games, and these are just his numbers with the Panthers. But in these 4 games overall, he has been excellent.
Yeah, I think when he was on the ice yesterday, the Panthers outshot the Canadians 15-1. It
was 19-1, I think.
Oh, 19-1
said.
Yeah,
it was a 93% or 97% expected goals for.
I'll get you exact numbers on this, but continue.
But yeah, it's just been such a good fit. And I called it January 10th before anyone
you did.
said Giroux.
I owe you the
January 10th. I said, hey, you know who'd be a sneaky good acquisition for the Panthers? Claude fucking Giroux. And you know who's been a damn good acquisition so far? Claude fucking Giroux.
Thank you, Claude Giroux, for deciding to come here and only here.
Yeah. And thank you, Alex, for putting that out into the universe.
Bill Zito clearly listens to the podcast because you know and so does Andrew Burnett because you know what?
I doubt it, because if he did, we probably wouldn't have Ben Sherrod.
True.
Well, Rick Dudley doesn't
and
listen
that's
to the
the
podcast.
only reason that I don't think Bill Zito listens to our podcast.
But you know who also listens to the podcast? Andrew Burnett, because you know what the other thing we all talked about saying the Panthers should do? A 5-forward power play. And what do they now do? A 5-forward power play.
That's true. Alex, that was also all you. So maybe they just mute TJ and me somehow. Like, I don't know, TJ, do you send like the raw audio files to the team and they mute us and just listen to Alex?
Well, you know what it is. It's you guys didn't play the game, so you're not hockey men.
Yeah.
There it is. I had to play the card.
You know what? I did play the game once upon a time. I haven't in 18 years, but that's not the point.
We're talking about NHL 22, right?
I was a youth hockey all-star in Glencoe, Illinois.
That's how long ago this was. It was Illinois.
To be fair, if you were to talk it to an NHL personality or front office person, they treat my experience the same as yours, Jacob. They don't give a shit.
You were a national champion, though. Like,
it was roller hockey. They don't give a shit.
Shut up. Stop it. Stop. Our listeners don't need to know that. Just kidding. Most of them already do. You were still a collegiate hockey national champion, irrespective of what surface the game was played on.
This is true.
Champion shit. That's what we're talking about right here. This is champion shit.
And champions trade for Claude Giroux.
That's right. Well, hopefully. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Panthers haven't
I've
won
been getting ahead
yet.
of myself for weeks.
All right.
5-forward power play real quick.
Yes.
I'll just give my thoughts.
They didn't listen to you on the formation. Now you can continue.
No, they did because Barkov's the one at the top.
But here's the important thing that they kind of rendered later on, though, so I can't really complain too much about it. Giroux doesn't work on the right. Like, he's never been on the right. That's not going to work.
He needs to be on the left spot. But they've done that. They've done some swapping where Huberdeau goes to the right and Giroux goes to the left. It started out a little slow, but it's definitely gotten better.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you can track some pretty, like, what I'm trying to say is, like, points at the timeline where the Panthers power play made a change that obviously improved it. And one of the things they did that obviously improved it was get a right-handed shot in the Ovi spot, which forces Huberdeau to move over to the right. And they did this with Reinhart for a little bit. He scored that huge goal against Washington. Yeah. They did this with Ekblad last year, and they tried it a little bit again. And they did eventually go away from it, but they changed it when the power play was getting really stagnant, and that really helped it. And, you know, another thing that they did was put Reinhart in front of the net, and all of a sudden he has like 10 deflections on the power play, or the one like he batted in against.
He's by far one of the best people in front of the net in terms of deflections. Like, that hand-eye coordination is
obscene.
It's absurd. It's so good.
Sam Reinhart has 10 power play goals for Florida this season. Sam Reinhart will more than likely break his career high for power play goals. His previous high was 12 in 17-18. That's just power play, though, so the even strength minutes are irrelevant. Just kidding. He has not quite broken his record for 5-on-5 points.
Anything else on the power play?
He has almost getting third line minutes. Sam Reinhart is only 2 points away from breaking his career high for points in a season.
Getting third line minutes, not bad. Anything else to say on the power play?
Mason Marchman a steak dinner.
Don't give up on it. Keep going with it.
Yes.
It's going to keep getting better. And then when Ekblad comes back, make your decision then in the playoffs. But this 5-man unit should be the number one power play for the rest of the season, barring any injuries.
I concur.
Yeah, just until Ekblad gets back. And then, honestly,
well, if it's clicking, I wouldn't put Ekblad back on the power play.
Do you put Ekblad on PP2 at that point?
Yeah, no. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No?
I would put
realistically, you probably don't, but
I don't think Duclair is that vital on power play one. Like, he's good for sure, but like,
Yeah, but you don't put Ekblad in front of the net. I mean, I know that's what Jack Hand was saying, put Ekblad near the net, but I don't know if I agree with that. It's interesting.
Ekblad in a shooting position works.
Yeah. And then he can cycle towards the wall if he's like on the half wall.
But I think Ekblad does his best work in the spot that we're saying Giroux needs to be in.
Exactly.
So at that point, I think you're better off.
But he's been better
Ekblad
as a quarterback.
Both on PP2.
He's been better as a quarterback though. Like he's noticeably improved as the season has gone along.
If the 5-forward power play works,
maybe I'm just being
I think if the
averse.
5-forward power play works well, and you then have the option for power play 2 to be like Bennett, Verhaeghe, fucking who else? I don't know. Marchman? I don't know.
Yeah, Bennett, Verhaeghe,
Marchman, Uyghur, Ekblad. With Uyghur on point, Ekblad and his.
Well, Lundell would be probably in.
Anton Lundell would come back for that, yeah. But like even so, like if you can have PP2 with Uyghur on point, Ekblad in a shooting position, Bennett in front of the net, and then Verhaeghe and Lundell just like having fun. You do that too.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah. So sticking with special teams real quick, the penalty kill. I'm not sure why we haven't seen Robert Haig on it. Like we've talked about for the past few weeks or so, this is the point where they should be really trying things. Like they got Robert Haig. He's been good, even strength defensively. He had good penalty kill numbers in Buffalo. Play him on the penalty kill. Like, what do you realistically have to lose? If he does really badly, you can just take him off. And the standings, risk that you have will be minimalized.
See, the problem with putting Robert Haig on the penalty kill, TJ, is he's only 6'2", and Ben Sherrod is 6'3".
This is true. Well, what do we want to go to next? Do we want to talk about the loss to Toronto at all?
Fuck Toronto.
I don't know if there's really anything to react about. Like, yeah, it wasn't a good performance, but 82 game season.
Well, that's the thing is, it's like, hey, people overreacting to Toronto. The Toronto loss, like second night of a back-to-back, 82 game season, third game.
Yeah, and I mean the Leafs were also on a back-to-back, but like they were in Canada the whole time. The Panthers were in Canada the whole time, but they don't live there.
Yeah.
It's nothing you can extrapolate playoff expectations based on because it's a sludge game. There's not going to be sludge games in the playoffs.
That's what mainly my point. Like, hey, it's a sludge game. Who gives a shit?
Yep. I mean, not good, but I forgot about it like the next morning. I woke up and who cares?
Well, here's the thing. The next morning, the Panthers were still first place in their division and in their conference.
Comfortably first place in the division.
Right.
Oh, and yeah, let's talk about this now.
Like, granted, now Carolina is starting to push back on the conference a little bit, but like the morning after that devastating loss to Toronto, the Panthers were still the leaders in the Eastern Conference.
By 6 points.
And at this point,
that's
technically
division.
Technically, Carolina right now.
Well, here,
technically, Carolina is the leader in the Eastern Conference right now.
But we have a game in hand.
The Panthers have a game in hand, and Carolina is only ahead because they have more regulation wins. But like I said, the Panthers have the game in hand. Now, something kind of interesting about this, and actually, before I go into it, let's talk about like the permutations of this. Panthers, they have a 6-point lead on anybody in the Atlantic Division. It would take a like pretty damn horrible end of the regular season for them, considering they have the easiest schedule of any Atlantic Division playoff team, for them to lose the Atlantic Division. So really all that's in contention, in my opinion, is the top spot in the East. And what it could potentially mean is playing against the Washington Capitals for sure versus playing against one of Tampa, Boston, or Toronto, all of whom are tightly knit,
right, and
competing against one another for seedings in the 2, 3, 4 in the Atlantic.
There are, if I may, between Tampa, Toronto, and Boston, 3 total points separating the top from the bottom.
And I think that
is a scary grouping. And
I think
whoever
that Washington's
doesn't win the East is going to have to play one of those 3 teams.
I think Washington's 3 points behind the Bruins, but they also have 2 more games played.
That is correct.
It's pretty safe to say that Washington is going to finish 8th. And we've talked a little bit
about... Just to put that in perspective, with Tampa, Toronto, Boston being 3 points separating the 3 of them, Washington is behind Pittsburgh by 6 points, which is the next closest team in the Metro. Like, it's not as compact of a division, the Metro. You want to play Washington. You do not want to have to deal with the Atlantic in the early rounds of the playoffs.
I think this Bruins team is going to come into the playoffs as like one of the 5 or 10. I mean, if you get to 10 at that point, it's meaningless. One of the 5 best teams. I would go that far to say that. Like, they're elite defensively. They're getting the goaltending from Jeremy Swayman now. And, he's a young guy, so he's developing on the fly and really showing out right now. Like, been phenomenal for the past month. Yesterday, them having a horrible showing against the Leafs aside, I don't know if that was him or if that was Olmar. But defensively, they're an elite team. They're the best defensive team in the league as far as the metrics go. And they haven't been getting that elite goaltending to go along with it. But
Jeremy Swayman's been pretty good.
Yeah, Jeremy Swayman's at like a 940 save percentage over the last month or so.
Yeah, over the last month, like we both listened to Puck Soup. We were already talking about it. Over the past month, he's been great, and that's why the Bruins have been great. But
Jeremy Swayman's got a 920 on the season in 32 games.
Yeah.
You can't ignore that.
Yeah, this is what I'm trying to say, though. Like, going into the playoffs, that's a team that you should be scared of. Like, we thought prior to, this recent torrid stretch they've been on, that they were just, the 7th seed, the Bruins, they're getting older. They're not the team they once were. No, it really doesn't look like that. They're looking
Surprise, the Bruins are always the fucking Bruins, I guess.
Yeah. And even if the Bruins take over one of the top 2 spots or top 3 spots in the Atlantic, the Leafs and the Bolts are going to fall into one of those spots then.
Right. And no matter what, if you like, the Panthers should be doing everything in their power to win the conference so they don't have to deal with an Atlantic team early.
Yeah. And if you're saying, oh, well, the Leafs are going to lose in the first round, do you want to be the team that loses to the Leafs in the first round? Because I don't.
Right. Eventually, the Leafs will win a playoff series.
Yeah.
It's not impossible for that to be this year.
Yeah, that's going to be a Panthers Leafs first round matchup would be unstoppable for a force for some movable object.
I think it would be 2 unstoppable forces against each other. That's neither of these teams are immovable objects. All of those games would finish 7-6. Like
another thing that makes me not want to see that series is how much blue would be in the stands at FLA Live Arena if the Panthers played the Leafs in the first round. I don't think there's any potential opponent that presents that much of a risk of like away fans, not necessarily taking over the arena, but like having a sizable presence, because it definitely wasn't there for Tampa. I don't think it would be there for Boston. It definitely wouldn't be there for Washington.
Yeah.
Wow. You know what? Just to kind of give TJ some credit here, despite Jeremy Swayman's 920 in his 32 games, he ranks 39th in goals saved above expected, which just goes to speak to how fucking strong that Bruins defense is.
And he's been really good recently, like we've been talking about. Like if you're getting that guy rather than the guy that he's been on average cumulatively throughout the season, that's a scary, scary team.
For the sake of comparison, Jeremy Swayman ranked 39 with a 1.08 goals saved above expected. Sergei Bobrovsky ranks 16th with an 8.01.
All right.
In first place is Igor Shesterkin with 33.57 goals saved above expected.
And now a hot take. I think I would take either the Leafs or the Bruins against the Lightning. Like I would pick either of them if the Lightning were in the 2-3.
I don't know if I would.
Lightning.
What I really want to see is the Leafs play the Bruins
again.
Carolina against Tampa.
I want to see Leafs Lightning because we've never seen it.
That's,
because everybody would be like, oh, the Lightning have already
alternatively, Boston, Tampa, because those two will beat each other down.
Yeah.
I mean, I would like to just see Tampa end up in 4th and end up in the Metro side.
And then you would get Leafs versus Freddie Anderson, potentially.
Well, if the Leafs end up 4th, you mean?
If the Leafs are 4th and the Bruins played the Lightning, Freddie Anderson on the Hurricanes would be playing the Leafs. That would be fascinating.
But yeah, that'd be so cute that either Frederick Anderson or the Toronto Maple Leafs would have to win a playoff series.
Yeah, my money's on Frederick Anderson on that one.
Oh yeah.
To summarize the way that I'm thinking about this whole thing, though, like Lightning, Bruins, and the Leafs, they're all top 10 possession, expected goals, etc. Whatever teams. The Capitals are hanging around the middle of the league and all of those stats. They're basically weaker.
The Atlantic is the most top-heavy division in the NHL right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you have the Rangers, who are like bottom 6 in the NHL. even though they've been a lot better since their deadline acquisitions, but sample size.
I would like to see someone else have the responsibility of breaking Igor. I don't want to have to deal with him.
Yeah, but I think the Rangers are comfortably in the top 3 of the Metro.
They're comfortably there. So are the Penguins.
Everyone but Washington is comfortably. Carolina, New York, and the Penguins are going to be your top 3 in the Metro.
If Florida plays a Metro team in the first round, it's going to be the Capitals for sure. Like they stand pretty much no chance of playing any of the other teams.
There's very little chance that Washington catches up to the top 3. It would
have to be that's to kind of go against what I had been saying for a lot of this year, and like the idea that nothing matters until the playoffs. Well, you'd rather play the Capitals, and I wouldn't be like this if this was the Lightning, and they've had experienced so much playoff success in the past few seasons. Since this team hasn't won a playoff round since 1996, I want to have the best chance of winning at least one.
Right.
The cup is the ultimate goal. I'm not going to miss the forest for the trees here, but if you get out of round 1, you have a better chance of winning the cup. Hot take.
And apparently, as of right now, according to Money Puck, the Florida Panthers do have the best odds of winning the Stanley Cup.
And that's not surprising.
That's pretty dope.
Especially with the Nathan MacKinnon injury.
Number 1 in 5-on-5.
Yeah.
Corsi.
You never want to see a guy injured, but if MacKinnon is out for any length of time, I will put real money on the Panthers to win the cup.
Colorado injuries aren't going to influence my thinking. Colorado injuries aren't going to influence my thinking on this. Now, if like Vasilevsky or Point gets hurt, or like Matthews gets hurt, or Bergeron gets hurt, that will influence my thinking.
So assuming the Panthers make it to you think that the Panthers winning the cup over Colorado is more likely than the Panthers making it to the cup in the first place?
No, I think that if you're focused on the cup final opponents,
right? No, I know what you mean.
Then you're hoping
the West is terrible this year.
But like Colorado probably still won't get to the finals. Like they're probably going to find a way to screw it up. Not because like
Colorado or Calgary. Like let's just put that to bed. I don't
know. I mean, last year we wouldn't have said that Montreal had a shot in hell.
Maybe Minnesota squeaks in somehow. That would be kind of fun.
I mean, if Vegas can get in and get Mark Stone,
Vegas isn't getting in.
I don't think they're getting in, but like you can't rule out the possibility, like Alex is saying. I mean, we certainly would have given Montreal a less chance than we're giving Vegas right now.
Dallas is a point up on Vegas for the second wild card spot with 3 games in hand.
But here's the thing, though. Do you really trust Dallas?
I would trust Tyler Seguin with my life.
They've slumped recently, but yeah, I think Dallas has got a pretty comfortable lead.
Look, I don't think they're going to blow it, but I'm not saying that I trust them.
Yeah, you're forgetting a team that's still in the conversation.
The Vancouver Canucks.
Vancouver Canucks. They still believe. Them and their 8% chance, 4 points out of the final playoff spot with 3 extra games played. They've still got a chance. There's no more delusional fan base out there.
I cannot in my mind picture any Western Conference team other than Colorado, Calgary, or maybe Minnesota making it to the Cup final. I don't see Nashville getting there. I don't see the Kings getting there. I don't see Edmonton getting there. I don't think I see St. Louis or Dallas getting there.
Yeah, all of those teams have very fatal flaws.
Vegas, Winnipeg, Vancouver. We have started to get our first little round of eliminations recently. Montreal and Arizona have both been eliminated from playoffs.
And so is Philly.
Officially.
Yeah, Philly's eliminated.
Wait, really?
Yep.
Because if Philly's eliminated, that means Ottawa is also eliminated. No, I guess not. Ottawa has a game in hand and is only 1 point back. So I guess Ottawa has 1 more point before they're eliminated.
As Team USA goes down 2-0, I'm surprised TJ's not reacting.
I mean, they have to lose the game 6-0 in order for there to be actual implications.
Also, if Philly's out, then New Jersey is also about to be out. They also have 53 points, but a game in hand. So 1 more loss and the Devils are out. So the Devils and the Senators could both be out shortly. Seattle will likely be out shortly. After that, we probably won't see an official elimination for a little while.
And this is why the NHL needs to adopt the 3-2-1 point system, because it makes no sense that we had to wait until 15 games left in the season for teams to finally start getting eliminated. Like Montreal, you've been done for months. Like I want to see some gap in these point standings so we don't have to hear about how Montreal still has a shot.
Yeah, 3-2-1. Like the loser point, as much as the Panthers have benefited from it in the past, it's just a dumb system, or at least like the same number of points given out to an overtime win, but an overtime loss is special. It's whatever. I guess there's no appetite to change it, even though as fans, we all think it's dumb. Now, speaking of changing things, GM meetings are going on this week in our native Florida. Some interesting things have come out about it. The salary cap's going up $1 million.
Hold on, real quick. I know what you mean, but Florida isn't native to at least two of us.
Oh, that's true. I didn't really think about the word native and what it actually means.
Yeah.
We're from
our home state of Florida.
Yeah, that's right.
But
so sorry, pedants.
Nor I were born here or was born here.
Sorry, linguists and pedants, but
way to just assume I was born here, Jacob.
I mean, it's either here or Havana.
Wow.
You're Cuban. That's not even a thing. You're Cuban.
My dad was born in Mexico in exile. Thank you very much.
Sorry.
Anyway, NHL GM meetings.
Which happened in our home state of Florida.
Florida, yes. The salary cap is going up by $1 million, which we kind of already knew, but Florida's pretty capped out. So that's going to be an extra $1 million to work with. Might help them. Might not really help them. Who knows? But
it would have been nice to see some growth, but the NHL and the NHLPA are pretty determined to pay off the owed escrow. So we're really not going to see a big jump until I think they were saying 23, 24, which by then, like basically every contract currently on the Panthers books will be expired other than Barkov. So they're not getting any real relief anytime soon.
All right. Anything on the salary cap from you, Jake?
I can't wait to see which GMs are going to burst at the seams to sign one extra fourth liner. I don't know. It's $1 million. It's not going to make or break most teams.
Yeah, you're right. And I think that most of these contracts extensions that have been signed recently, they already kind of figured in the extra $1 million. What's more
I
interesting,
am hopeful that that's indicative of greater increases to come because it was supposed to be flat for a few years.
I mean, this is basically flat.
No, part of that NHLPA agreement that was signed during the pandemic was $1 million increases until the escrow was paid back.
Which it should be paid back after the next 2 years.
For some reason, the players owe the owners money.
Well,
because of the CBA, the hockey-related revenue 50-50
it's
split.
Fucking stupid.
You're not wrong, but according to the CBA, because the NHL had 2 years where the revenue came well below projected, that escrow had to get paid. All that salary went into escrow, and we also had for years the players increasing the salary cap as much as possible, which increased the amount of escrow money had to get put into. So a lot, like 95% of this is because of the pandemic. 5% of it is because the players kept doing max escrow to get max salary cap increases, even though the NHL revenue didn't support that. So yes, I agree, Jacob. It's bullshit that the players are paying it back and the owners aren't eating some of it, but that's just the way the NHL CBA cookie crumbles.
Let's talk about the playoff salary cap, because this has been something that they've been talking about at these meetings that has people intrigued. And I mean, as a team that lost to the Tampa Bay Lightning in last year's playoffs, this is something that I think that should be implemented, sour grapes or not.
After this season.
Yeah.
I mean, is it really going to affect the Panthers?
It should be implemented after this year's playoffs.
We're talking about a playoff salary cap. Don't forget. The Panthers will be cap compliant in this playoffs because of Sherratt and Giroux both being 50% retained, and that money that is retained on Domi, he's not playing in the playoffs, so don't worry about that. I'm not really sure what the ins and outs of these proposals are, but I've seen some people come out against the idea of a playoff salary cap, and I just don't understand. Like, why wouldn't you want there to be playoff salary cap? Like, do you want LTIR to be this loophole that's just open forever? I don't get it. Like, why even have the salary cap then? Yeah,
the prevailing proposal out there that makes the most sense, and it's better than the proposal I came up with, is your 18-man roster, or I guess 20-man when you include goalies, every night in the playoffs has to be cap compliant. That's simple. Any guys you have scratched or injured, doesn't matter. They don't count. but your 20 man have to be under 82.5 million. I think that's the cap number for this year. And I think that makes sense because you know what? It was bullshit that Tampa got to go out there with a basically $95 million cap team last year at full strength. Like, no, that was bullshit. So the easiest way to close that is this proposal. I mean, the proposal I had was your lineup at the end of the regular season had to be cap compliant, and that was the players you were allowed to use for the playoffs. And then if you had injuries, you could call up anyone making under $1 million or less. But this is essentially the same thing. It's a little cleaner. Your nightly lineup has to be cap compliant, which would mean Tampa couldn't do what they did last year. That simple.
But because of the what's the word I'm looking for? When like things get cut dependent upon a player plays 30% of the season, so their cap hit only applies at 30%. You know what I mean? What's the word I'm looking for?
Yeah, you're right. The ratio or whatever, prorated salary.
Prorated, yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
Yes.
That would still allow
applies.
teams to make these deals at the deadline and still add on players even when they have like minimal salary cap space available when the season starts. But you wouldn't be able to do what Tampa did. You wouldn't be able to do what
Chicago
the Knights could potentially do. Yeah, I mean, people say Chicago, but that just strikes me as Tampa fans doing lame whataboutism because like their move was Antoine Vermette, who played like 10 minutes a game in the playoffs and did not have
TJ, you're forgetting something very important.
What was that?
Antoine Vermette. Hold on. Actually, I need to look this up because I know this is going to be correct, but it would be more fun if I had the exact number. So I'm just going to keep talking. It's definitely not just a way to stall for time. Let me find his playoff stats. He went 58.7% from the faceoff dot.
Big
in that playoff run for Chicago.
I'm sorry that I didn't think that was important. I really should have considered.
And the reason I bring that up is because that's like why they got him.
Yeah,
but
the
he just never played.
Traded for Vermette because of his face-offs.
He just
and
never
then
played,
he won
though.
the cup playing 20. He played 20 playoff games for Chicago that year.
But he played like
60% of his draws.
He played like 200 minutes though.
Yeah,
in those 20 games.
No, you're not wrong.
But 1308.
We're getting lost in the weeds. The point was Chicago was the first team to realize what they could do with LTIR. Again, another Panthers link. That game where Patrick Kane got hurt was against the Panthers here in South Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And he was ready a week or two before the season ended, and they just waited so they could fit Antoine Vermette. And then Tampa took the loophole that was created and drove a truck through it. And finally, people woke up and said, "Hey, maybe we shouldn't allow this." And Tampa was honestly actually the first team to say, "Hey, maybe we shouldn't allow it."
They were, yeah, absolutely, because that was who the Blackhawks beat in the finals.
That is true.
They were upset about it.
So, I mean, look, I don't want to relitigate last year's playoffs. It was bullshit, but there's no sour grapes because it was allowed, and I don't blame Tampa for being smarter than everyone else and planning better than everyone.
I will never blame a GM for not circumventing, for weaponizing the cap within the letter of the law, and that's what they did last year.
Yep.
It's a dumb letter of the law, but I will
that's
never
why we're
fault
fixing
a
it.
GM for exploiting it.
It's the same. These are the same people who came up with the AAV rules and didn't put a max term on salary. So you were getting these 18-year contracts where the last 6 years were for $1 million a year to drag these AAVs down to nothing. Like idiots are writing these CBA things. And that's why every time people talk about, hockey men and how dare you think you're smarter than an NHL GM, cough, cough, Ben Sharon. It's like,
that would be a fun game show hosted by Jeff Foxworthy.
And
So
these cap recapture retroactive penalties, I mean, it's very funny, but it's bullshit at the same time.
No one paid. The only one who paid the cap recapture penalty is the Florida Panthers and Dale fucking Talon.
Yeah, because he's just not smart enough to figure out how to avoid it.
Nobody else paid these cap recapture penalties. It was like everyone got all upset. All these, they were legal when they signed them. Guess what? Everyone found a way around them except Dale Talon.
And remember, the rationale was basically like, seems too complicated. Let's just have him retire.
Well, he didn't want to give up the draft pick capital necessary to get rid of Luongo's contract.
Who did Did the Canadians get rid of draft pick capital to get rid of Shea Weber's capture? They
Well,
did
haven't
not.
done it yet. Well, they're still
He's on
eating it, but-
LTIR.
right. But they didn't. But Talon didn't want to deal with LTIR. It was too confusing for him.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And thus, we once again got to the Dale Talon wasn't great part of the episode. So this is
Honestly, it's my favorite segment.
Yeah, every time we have a fuck you Dale Talon moment, I smile a bit.
And we also had a fuck you to whoever the GM was when they traded Dan Boyle.
Let's just say it was Dale Talon and move on.
I think that was Brian Murray, or it was either Brian Murray or what's his name, Mike Keenan.
Oh my God. I can't believe Mike Keenan was still in the league. All right. So before we do sign off, I want to say rest in peace to Eugene Melnyk. You don't have to claim that he was a perfect owner or that he never did anything wrong in order to acknowledge that he did plenty of good things for Ottawa and hockey in Ottawa, and that he leaves behind a family. And, some people are going to have worse lives now that Melnyk's gone. And I hope that the Senators stay in Ottawa. I've hoped for a while that they eventually found a way to get a downtown arena, and maybe that will be something that the next owner, which I think is going to be in the Melnyk family still, will prioritize. And who knows if Melnyk was going to do it himself. But rest in peace. I don't think this is a good opportunity to say anything snarky about him as an owner. But then again, it's not objecting to that idea. Just, when somebody dies, it's can always be a tragedy.
Yeah, it's never the time to dance on somebody's grave. There'll be more than enough time to, talk about it and whatnot after the fact. But yeah, now is not the time. But to end this podcast on a happier note, and it's another present link. Do you guys want to take some guesses on who was the GM who traded Dan Boyle? And I will give you a hint. He is currently a GM in the NHL.
Former Panthers GMs who are currently GMs.
Is it Poyle?
No.
He wasn't the Panthers GM. I'm trying to think of who was the Panthers GM. That's GM.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I'm having.
He was an interim GM for about 5 months.
Oh.
The Panthers did a deal with him this deadline.
Fletcher?
Chuck fucking Fletcher traded Dan Boyle for a 5th round draft.
Chuck Fletcher was the GM of the Panthers at any point?
Yes, for 5 months, December 3rd, 2001 to May 10th, 2002. He took over for Bill Torrey, who lasted about a year.
Holy shit.
Amazing. All right. We're seriously running close to our allotted time. We're running out of patience for the listeners. So rate us 5 stars on DatPiff.
I don't even. Okay, you're gonna have to explain what DatPiff is.
Isn't that where they put the mixtapes?
Yes.
Sure.
Oh my god, I haven't fucking heard of DatPiff in years.
Good one.
And that'll do it. There's nothing else to say. We've exhausted all the possible things to say. Everybody, wish the listeners a good evening or a good morning or whatever. I don't know.
Sorry,
something.
you had to listen to 90 minutes. Hopefully listening at 2x speed.
Good night, everybody.
Good
Go
night.
Panthers.